Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming, and my name is Killjoy. Today we're going to be talking about Need for Speed Most Wanted, to the game that came out in 2012, not the original ones that came out in 2005, I believe. Most Wanted is, well, first of all, I like very select Need for Speed games. I like the ones that are very arcade focused and much more about, you know, either playing as the police, being chased by the police, those ones really, rather than the games that require you to do a lot of customization and tuning and all that. Like, they're fine games, they're not for me. I much prefer sort of things like Hot Pursuit and Most Wanted in this case. So, going through my back catalogue, I was like, I really fancy playing something that's a bit more, just doesn't require a lot of effort in the sense that it's not like crazy to get into. It's just, hey, I want something that's kind of fun. And arcade racing games tend to be like that. And the reason why this is an arcade racing game is that you just put your foot down and you just tap the brake when you want to like drift and stuff. You don't have to worry about gear shifting, you don't have to do anything like that. It's just fast-paced racing through a city in this case. And yeah, so we're going to talk about and give you my thoughts on this game, because I forgot that this came out 2 years after Hot Pursuit. Now, Hot Pursuit was a restart of the Hot Pursuit series. So there's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, I think it's like something Hot Pursuit, and then there's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, and I've got both of those games. One of those is like very early on. I got one on the PC, one on the GameCube, sorry. So Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, and then in 2010 they brought out Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, which was like a restart of the series, and I absolutely love that game. And this is the one that came out after that, and it's made by Criterion. It's very much got elements of Burnout in it, but it also feels very much like a sequel to Hot Pursuit. So let's start with the things that I really liked about it. First of all, that the map is a big city. You get to drive around this big city, and there's a lot of like variance in the city. So you've got like the outskirts, which are like the motorways, and you can go to different parts, like there's like mountainy parts and foresty parts. But when you get into the city, you've got like a nuclear power plant sort of station you can go through. You've got train stations you can go through. You've got the national park sort of thing. There's all these different areas that you can drive around, and it makes the game feel like fairly much like this is a real city. It's got a seascape. It's got all these different places you can go, and you don't really notice a lot of it while you're driving around because you're too busy focused on it. But it all kind of blends seamlessly, which is kind of cool. And in this game specifically, this is how you find cars, by driving around. So you're pretty much free driving for the most part, unless you choose to do a race. So you drive around, you can find like cameras to break the speed limit on, you can find gates to smash through, you can find billboards to break, you can find other cars. When you find another car, you can drive up and switch with it, or you can it'll be on your map. You can teleport to those as you find them, and they're everywhere. There's bloody loads of them. I don't think I've found that many. I think there's like, I might have found like 30 out of 100, I think, something like that anyway. But there's cars everywhere, and the game does a really good job of being like, here you go, here's loads of cars, find the ones that you want. And when you pick a car, you get basically like 5 races, I think it is, not including DLC, and they are usually a couple of races in an ambush, and they all lead to getting upgrades for your car. Now, this game isn't crazy when it comes to upgrades. It's a case of, hey, this one gives you nitro. Okay, add that on. It'll increase these things. Or be like, here's a couple different types of chassis. This is a lighter chassis, which means you'll go quicker, but you'll smash and break easier. It's very, very much to the point. You can kind of just build the car you want to very easily. Just look at the stats you like and then hit yes on it. So there's tons of different cars like that. There's the upgrades you get from each racing, and the whole point of this game is you gain points, and as those points go up, you go up the most wanted list. You start at number 11, you're trying to make your way to number 1, and by doing that, you complete races. The higher you come in those races, the better. Smashing police officers and other racers off the road also give you points, but it's usual standard affair, like collect things, do things. You'll get, just by playing the game, you'll accumulate these points. And you like I said, you work your way up. Now, this game has a few different events. You have your circuit races, which will be the standard sort of go around a few laps. You've got your sprint races, and then you've got ambush, which is where you get chased by the police. There's not too many in this, and some of them do share it, which we'll come to in a bit. But there's enough here for what this game is, because I forget the time this game came out, like being able to drive around sort of openly around the map. It was quite big for the time. This game isn't like some other racing games of now and some of the other Need for Speed games. It is a little bit more on the basic side, but that's fine. Like, it is pretty much the game knows what it wants to be. So the cars and the map, great. Love it. I like the fact that you can get in a Ford pickup truck in this. Great. Absolutely slow thing, but it's a lot of fun trying to do the police chase in that because it can't ram you off the road. The soundtrack in this game, like Hot Pursuit, is actually pretty decent and it's fun to drive along to. Some really random selection of choices of songs, but you've got things like Bonkers by Dizzy Rascal, and you've got a couple of drum and bass tracks and then some like rock tracks. And there's a good old mix for when you're driving around, and I kind of appreciate that. I like what they've got on offer here. So that's always a plus in my books. The actual police chases in this game, what happens is if you're caught speeding or driving on the wrong side of the road, police officer will go after you, and on your side of your map is a bar that goes up from 1 to 5, 5 being like the absolute most wanted. And basically what happens is it starts off with like a car in pursuit, then maybe another car, and then you get roadblocks, and then you get the SUV type cars, and I'm not sure what happens when you get to the very top, but what will happen here is the AI will for the most part try and ram you off the road, or they will try and get out in front and drop a spike strip. Most of the time the chases and stuff are easy enough to deal with. They can get incredibly intense and they can escalate to be nuts, and it really comes down to like how well you know the area you're in, like the being able to take shortcuts, avoiding stuff. Because in this game, when you crash, you don't even though you take damage, you don't actually take damage. You just car looks battered up. But you don't want to crash because that's usually where they can lock you in and stop you from getting away and you get busted. But I will say I very much enjoy the police chases in this game. So I like the ambush, which is awesome. One thing that I love, but I don't know why they decided to do this, is the cutscenes in this game before every race. They are literally out of a fever dream. So for example, you'll pick an ambush and it will just be like you driving along, and then suddenly it'll be like a pyramid of police cars in this cutscene chasing you, and then they turn into like a big rolling cylindrical shaped, and then they're like flying over you, or like another cutscene you'll see like the police cars like falling from the sky and stuff, and then it goes into the actual race and it's all normal again. But it's like, what happened here? Like, somebody just decided to go absolutely crazy with it. I don't know if they had budget left over or what, but they made them very silly, and I kind of appreciate it because it just shows the game's not trying to take itself too seriously. And you get it with the other normal races as well. It might go like black and white, it might go into this weird kaleidoscope thing, and it'll go into the race. The game's all over the place, man. It's crazy. But the core gameplay, the core driving in the game, the things that we've talked about here, upgrades and races and stuff like that, all comes together quite nicely, but it isn't all perfect. One thing that this game, like Hot Pursuit, has is traffic, and traffic is random. And it's really, really frustrating when you're doing, like, in this, you race a most wanted person to be able to, like, move up the list as well, and also to get their car. Sometimes the traffic is just unavoidable. The speeds you're going at, and you try to drift around a corner, you're hitting a car. Or, like, they just spawn in some awkward places, and it's one of those things. It's like, I'm glad it's there, but I'm also like, Jesus Christ, this is really frustrating. It can lead to some really funny moments, like smashing other cars, smashing the police into them. But when you're like trying to concentrate and you like hit like a perfect corner and you go around and bang straight into a car, it's like, well, yeah. But the next time you do the race, they might not be in the same spot. You know, it is very random, the traffic, and it can cause a lot of issues. Leads to some funny pile-ups, I will say that, but yeah, I don't know what it is. I think just certain time. I think when you're racing like the one-to-ones, I almost wish there is a lot less traffic, but sometimes I just wish it would only be on like the straights and not the corners and things. It can be quite infuriating. I actually think that this game feels like a step down from Hot Pursuit. So this game focuses more on you as a racer and you're naturally driving around this world. That's what you can do. You stop at certain places to initiate those races. Hot Pursuit was you could choose to free drive, but you pretty much picked an event and did the race. But the biggest difference here is that in this game you don't really have a way to fight back against police or other races apart from ramming them. Hot Pursuit gives you the ability to have spike strips and EMPs and things like this. This game doesn't, and even though I like a lot of the elements of this game, it doesn't. It does feel a little bit too much of a step down versus what they originally had with Hot Pursuit. But I get it; it's going for a slightly different vibe. You are a street racer. Why would you have a spike strip Whereas Hot Pursuit's like, here, have a spike strip and all these other things. But that game does also let you play as the police, so that might be why. There's a lot of reused races in this game. So I found with certain cars, you'd like go to a race, and if you'd already done that race, you can just jump to it when you get a new car. So you don't have to drive back to that area. But there's a lot of times when you'll do the same sort of starting points for a lot of the ambushes or a lot of the circuit races and stuff. And maybe it's just the cars that I've picked, but I've seen a lot of them repeat already. So it makes me go, there's not a huge amount of variety here for these areas. Maybe they go left instead of right or whatnot. But for the most part, a lot of the circuit races are very, very much the same, the ones that I've picked. And then the last thing is that there is only a couple of race types. There is only circuit race, sprint, and ambush that I am aware of. And then there's the 1v1s versus the wanted. Which isn't awful, because this game is trying to focus on picking the cars and racing around and unlocking all the bits for them. But I do just think, like, as much as I like this game, and I do like it, don't get the wrong idea, I think this game is very fun. I think this game is the perfect thing I wanted to play right now, where it was like, oh yeah, like just a nice arcadey style racer that's about high speed, you know, and just having a laugh and enjoying the music and driving around. It does feel like there is a step down there, and even playing Hot Pursuit a little bit recently, just doing a couple of races on that to see what the differences are, that game is still, I just think, a little bit better. I think a lot of people would really enjoy this game. I think if you can pick it up on the cheap, it's definitely worth getting. You know, this is a game that I would pay probably about £20 for now, if not less. You can probably get it for about £10-15. Wait for a sale if you know, if you want to. But ultimately, I think it's a fun arcade racer. I don't play all the Need for Speed games, so I pick and choose the ones I do, and this was definitely worth my time. Just, if you have played Hot Pursuit, you're probably going to see the differences here. There might be some things I've missed, but this is the experience I've had. I've put about 6-7 hours into it now from playing it, and I am enjoying it, and I'm going to continue to play it, and I'm probably going to complete the game, because getting points isn't too difficult, so I'm going to make my way to that #1 spot and see what opens up. But it is fun being able to find different cars. Like, there's an aerial Atom in the game, which is an insane car. Bloody hard to drive, but I love it. You know, you've got all those classic things. If you're into cars, you got your Lamborghinis, your Zondas, all that sort of stuff. It's a lot of fun. So, but yeah, that is my thoughts on Need for Speed Most Wanted, the 2012 game. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, as I'm still diving into my back catalogue, then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always. And until next video, I will see you then.